Hi, this is Ali Arango of Little Guy CGI, and today I want to show you how to make a human male head inside of Blender 2.78c. So let's get started. If this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, go to Input, and then choose Select with left click. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe programs or other 3D programs. While you're in the User Preferences, go to Add-ons, put a check mark next to 3D View, 3D Navigation, then scroll down, probably about, I guess it's about midway down. You want to put a check mark next to Mesh F2, Mesh Inset Polygon, Mesh Loop Tools, as well as Mesh Relax. We'll scroll down some more. You want to put a check mark next to Pi Menu 3D View Pi Menus, as well as Pi Menu UI Pi Menu Official. Okay, to navigate your way around Blender, if you look to your left, you'll see a navigation tab. This tab is here because we put a check mark when we went to File User Preferences at the top of the list of add-ons. With this navigation tab, you can quickly click these buttons to maneuver your view around inside of Blender. Okay, if you hold the middle mouse button, you can rotate your view. If you hold Shift and the middle mouse button, you can pan the view. If you hold Control in the middle mouse button, if you push in, you'll zoom in. If you still hold Control in the middle mouse button, pull back, you'll zoom back. You can also roll your mouse wheel to zoom in or roll your mouse wheel back to zoom out. Okay, in Blender, when you come into Blender, the first thing you see is this cube. You also are in object mode. Most of our work is going to be done inside of edit mode. To get to edit mode, you click here, and then you can click here to go into edit mode. Here in edit mode, you can manipulate objects like this cube by selecting vertices, which you select here, edges, which you can select here, or faces, which you can select here. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click front to go to front view. We're then going to click where it says view perspective / ortho to go to orthographic mode. Here in orthographic mode, which is like probably the closest you can get to looking at a 3D object like it's a 2D object, we're going to press W, which brings up our specials menu. We're then going to select right here where it says subdivide smooth. So when we click that, if we look immediately over to our left, we'll see a menu here. See where it says number of cuts? We want to change this number of cuts from 1 up to 3. Okay, I'm going to hold Control as well as my middle mouse button and just push up on my mouse to zoom in. We're going to grab 3 vertices. We don't want to grab these 3 right here or these 3. We want to grab these 3 vertices right here. So I'm going to press A to deselect. We're on vertice select. So now I'm going to left click here. Now I'm going to hold Shift. And then while holding Shift, I'm clicking here as well as here. Now I'm letting go of Shift. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to right view. I'm going to hold Control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom out. The reason why I hold Control instead of, hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom out instead of just rolling my mouse, often is because when you hold Control, you get a smoother zoom. So anyway, what we want to do now is we want to drag these 3 vertices down some. However, we want to do it with the proportional editing tool turned on. The proportional editing tool is a tool that allows you to move more than one vertice, edge, or face at a time. Okay, to turn the proportional editing tool on, we can click here and turn it on, or we can just press O, which is a shortcut key to turn on the proportional editing tool. What we're going to do now with these 3 vertices selected is press G. When we press G, see that circle that popped up? G allows us to pull vertices, edges, or faces, we're going to use what we just pressed, G, to move those faces, but I want you to be aware that G is also useful to press so you can see the area of influence of the proportional editing tool, and that's what that circle you see is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down, and then as I pull down, see how like the vertices that are on the bottom, like I didn't click anything, I just pulled down. See how they're kind of like pointy? When I roll my mouse wheel one way, they get even pointier. When I roll it the other way, see how that point like is not as pointy? So I'm rolling the mouse, and the reason why I'm doing that is what we're doing is we're pulling out the chin of this head. So I'm looking at the back, you know, towards the back of the head at the neck, and I'm looking at the chin. And I'm saying, okay, how do I want the shape to be? So right now I'm thinking, you know what? I want that part in the back that's going to be the neck to go up some. So I rolled the mouse wheel one time, and hopefully you noticed that the vertices adjusted to me rolling the mouse. What I wanted is to have the chin basically pulled out of the head and to have the basic back shape of the head done. So I have that now. So I'm going to left click to lock in that movement of those vertices that we just did. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. We still have the proportional editing tool turned on. I'm going to press O to turn that off. We were on vertices select. I'm going to go to face select by clicking right here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I want these 8 faces right here. So with face select on, I'm going to hover here. Then I'm going to press C for paint select. So holding paint select or holding the left mouse button, let me paint all of those faces right there. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. Okay, now I want to turn the view back towards the side of the head. So I'm going to go here and click right. So now we're right to the side. What I'm going to do now is press E to extrude. When I press E, you can see a preview line. That's that line that is, came out of the faces we have selected. And I like how that line is, so I'm going to, just pull down. I'm then going to left click. What I want to do now is scale this up. And when I say this, I'm talking about the 8 faces that I have selected. So what I'm going to do is press S to scale. Then I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press Z. And the reason why I did that is by holding shift, you can tell Blender scale every direction but Z. So this is a fairly quick way to shape the neck. So I'm just going to pull like this. I'm then going to left click to lock in that scale. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn the view so we can just see what we did. I'm now going to press A to deselect. Okay, now I want to shape the neck some more. So what I'm going to do is hover here, hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press the R key. When I did that, Blender put a loop cut right there. That's that line showing you a preview of where the loop cut will go. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel once to put another loop cut in. Then I'm going to left click one time. Because I left clicked one time, I can move these loop cuts. However, I'm fine where the loop cuts are at, so I'm going to left click a second time to lock those loop cuts in place. Okay, with these loop cuts still selected, we're going to use them to shape the neck. So the way we're going to do that is similar to how we shape this part. We're going to press S to scale. We're then going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, we're going to press Z. So we're telling Blender scale on every axis except Z. So I just push this in like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I find this grid floor a little distracting, so I'm going to press the N key to bring up our properties panel. I'm going to click here for display, and then I'm going to take away this check mark next to grid floor. And that takes away the grid floor. If we wanted to bring the grid floor back, we could just put a check mark here and we would bring it back. So I'm going to press N to take away that properties panel now. Okay, with edge select on, I'm going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, I'm going to click right here. Because I was holding Alt when I clicked here, I was able to select this entire loop of edges. So with this selected, I'm going to take this manipulator and just pull up some like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, as we continue to work, we want to work as efficiently as possible. one of the ways that we can work efficiently is by making it so we only have to work on one side of the head. However, there's a way in Blender to, while we work on one side, we are technically working on both sides of the head. So that's what we're going to set up now. Okay, to do this, we need to go to front view. So we can click right here, go to front. The reason why we came to front is we want to delete all of the geometry on this side of, the center of our mesh right here. So we're going to press Z and then select wireframe. The reason why we did that was when we select here, we want to select what you see here as well as what you don't see, which is on the back side of the head. So that's why we came to wireframe. Now that we're in wireframe and in front view, we want to click here to select face select. Okay, so what we want to do now is hover our mouse about here. I'm then going to press B for box select. I'm then going to left click and drag. And I drag a little bit past the center line and then let go. And then that lets us select all of the faces on this side of our head mesh. Okay, with all of that geometry selected, what we can do is press X to bring up our delete menu and then choose faces to delete. Okay, see how we have our mesh divided right at the center? We have our origin point right here. What we want to do is put a mirror modifier on this. To do that, we're going to click on what looks like this wrench. This is our modifier panel. We're going to click here. Then we're going to go here to mirror modifier. And when we click the mirror modifier is already set up for the most part to make things easier for us to model. So see how this looks, kind of like faded out. What we want to do is click right here so that this part looks like this part. I consider this part like virtual geometry because this is the mirror modifier is generating this. Another thing we want to do is we want to put a check mark next to clipping. The reason why we want to do that is because this clipping keeps our virtual geometry from pulling apart from our actual geometry right here. Okay, what we're going to do now is press Z and then select solid to go back to solid view. When I start working on a head mesh, typically the way I think of it to just get everything right is I try to make it look like the head mesh has sunglasses on, right? So what I do is I click here, and when I say sunglasses, I mean it's just a process that I go through, if that makes sense. So I'm going to click here, and because we have the mirror modifier on, when I click here, this side is also clicked. So then I pull up like this, and this is what I mean by sunglasses. This kind of looks like sunglasses to me here, right? I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn to the side. However, sunglasses would come down right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure we're on edge select, which we are. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm then going to hold Control and then click here. The reason why I held Control is because there's a thing in Blender called the shortest path. By holding Control, I can select just from what I clicked on to when I hold Control to the part that I'm holding when I click on. So we just need to grab one more edge here. So now I'm going to hold Shift to select there. With that done, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, and then I'm going to push down like that. And I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and turn back towards the front. See how this kind of looks like sunglasses? I don't know. That's kind of how my thought process goes when I model a head. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I would rather for this geometry to actually be straight. So we can do that by pressing S to scale on the Z axis 0. Oh, I guess it's pretty straight. Okay. So I'm going to go to vertice select. I'm going to click here, push this down slightly like that. This right here we can pull down. I'm going to click here. Just pull this down some like that. Okay, just taking a look and thinking as I'm looking. Okay, what we want to do now is click here to go to face select. And then I'm going to click here, hold shift, then click here as well as here. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to hold control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. Then I'm going to press E to extrude. Then I'm going to right click. When we press E to extrude, it doesn't look like we did anything, but what we did was we just made new geometry. So that new geometry is sitting on top of the old geometry. Because it is, what we can do is press S to scale down some like this. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. And just so you know my thought process as as we go through making this head, this basically is setting us up to have the eye socket set up. Right here will eventually be like the nose bridge. So what we want to do is go to edge select. We're going to click here. If we clicked here and just pushed over, only this vertice would move. We want, when we push this vertice to move, for the rest of this geometry to respond. The way we can do that is by turning on the proportional editing tool again. So we're going to press O. If we look here, we can see that this is lit up. So the proportional editing tool is on. We're going to press G. That lets us see our area of influence. It allows us also to be set up to move this edge. So I'm going to press X so that we're locked into just moving on the X axis. So now I push over. And as I push over, I look how the other geometry is affected by me pushing over. And then I roll the mouse wheel to kind of, in my mind, I'm decreasing the tension around the eyes. Then I'm going to left click to lock that movement in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to form the mouth. So you can kind of see, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. We've got a basic head shape right here. You can kind of see where the eye socket's going to be. We need to have a mouth. So I'm going to click here to go to face select. The proportional editing tool is still on. I'm going to press O to turn that off. I'm now going to click here, hold shift, and then click here. I hold shift because shift allows you to click and not lose the selection when you click on something else. With these faces selected here, what I'm going to do is press the E key. I'm then going to right click to lock that extrusion in. Doesn't look like we did anything. We made new faces on top of the old faces. Sometimes people wonder why I use extrude instead of other techniques for this. I'm just used to using extrude. That's why. I'm going to press S to scale this down. And basically, as we're scaling it down, we're looking for a mouth shape. So we sit there and say, okay, this is around where the mouth would be at, right? I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to turn out. When I look here, basically what I think is, see how flat this is? The human mouth actually, it comes out. So to deal with that, what we do is with these faces selected, we just take the manipulator and we push out some like this. So now I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, as far as the mouth, your mouth actually wraps around your face. Like, it doesn't just stay in the front, it comes to the side. So we go to the side, see how flat this looks? So what we can do is we go to here, to edge select, we click this edge right here, and then we pull back, right? Like this. We go to the front, and then we want this to come out to the side some, so we pull out to the side some like that. We'll pull back some more like that. Then we'll press A to deselect. Okay, and when I look at the head, basically what I think, I'm like, okay, the eyes are not in a bad spot. The mouth is in an okay spot, as far as proportion. Don't get, too into proportion yet. The main thing is, if we have the basic structures that we need, we can rearrange those structures later on. Okay, so here we have the basic shape for the mouth. What we want to do now is we're going to click here to go to face select. We're going to click here, hold shift, and then while holding shift, click here. We're then going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're then going to choose faces to delete. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hover here. We need to form the faces. They're going to make up the area around the mouth. Since I tend to make models that are able to animate, this will also help to set us up for having face loops that will allow this character to do actions such as talking. So I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press R. Because I press control R, I put a loop cut there. We need 2 loop cuts. So I'm going to roll the mouse wheel 1 time. We have 2 loop cuts. That's what we need. So we're going to left click once. Because we left click once, we can move these loop cuts. We don't want them to move, so we're going to left click a second time to lock those loop cuts in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to hold Alt. We're on edge select, and while holding Alt, we're going to click here. We're then going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get that extrusion to stay in place. So when I selected this edge here and pressed extrude, I made a new edge. It doesn't look like we did anything because it's right on top of the old edge, but we can press S to scale in like this. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan up. And I'm going to pull this back some like this, right? I'm then going to press S to scale on the X-axis like this. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z-axis like this. I'm just taking a look. We're then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button. I'm taking a look again. I'm going to make sure we're still on the edge. So I'm going to click here, push this forward slightly out like that. Click here, push this slightly forward and then up like this. We're going to put an edge loop right here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover here, hold Control, and then while holding Control, press R. You can see the loop preview, loop cut preview. We don't want it to go like that, so we just move our mouse and the loop cut readjusts. So I'm then going to left click and then left click a second time so that loop cut is locked in. I'm then going to click here, hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, click here. I'm then going to press S to scale on the Z axis like this. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate to the side just to get a better look at what I'm doing. I'm going to push out some like this. Again, this stuff we're just putting in the basic shapes, so don't be too concerned right now. I'm going to press as far as proportion and all that, general concern, but not too. I'm going to press A to deselect. As far as the lips later on, we're going to want this lip line to stand out. So what we can do is hover our mouse right here. I'm going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press R. I'm going to left click one time because I left click one time I can move this loop cut. So I'm going to move it closer to the edge like this. I'm then going to left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. Okay, we hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press A to deselect. We want our character's chin to come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to click right here, right? So you're not clicking the bottom edge, the edge right up from there, right? You're going to take your manipulator and push out like this. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, those of you who have watched the tutorials on this channel know that I pretty much make heads the same way. I learn new things as I go along, which is why I try to do updates on making the different types of heads. I like this method because if you follow the method, it's fairly quick. What we're doing now is it's called box modeling. The method we're doing for making this head. The structure of how I make the eyes, the mouth, kind of goes in a way to make things fairly quick, which I like. What we want to do now is we want to pull out an ear. I'm going to click here, hold Control. While holding Control, click here for the shortest path method. I'm going to push this down some. When I push this down some, I'm thinking, again, mainly about this ear coming out here. So I'm going to go to Vertice Select. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here and push this down some. I'm going to click here, push this down some. Click here, push this down some. So we're going to bring the ear out from here. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, so we're going to go to Face Select. We're going to click right here, hold Shift, and click here, here, as well as here. We're now going to press E to extrude. Right click to keep that geometry in place. We have new geometry on top of the old. We're then going to press S to scale. Now when we scale down things, we don't have to have this, what's going to become the ear, be right here. If we want, since we have these faces here, we can actually take our manipulator and push this down a little. We're going to press E to extrude on the X-axis now to bring this out some like this. We're then going to press R to rotate on the Z-axis to rotate this towards the front. I'm just holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm then going to click here to go to vertice select. Click here, or I should say vertex select, and just pull this up some. I'm going to pull this down some like that. I'm holding the middle mouse button just to take a look. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. See this right here? We need to deal with this, and the way we can do it is fairly easily. We make sure we're on vertice select. We click here. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom in. The main reason I zoomed in is this manipulator sometimes gets in the way, so I zoomed in so I can get past this manipulator. So with this vertex here selected, I'm going to hold shift. While holding shift, click here. I'm then going to hold alt, and then while holding alt, press M. This brings up our merge menu. We're then going to select at last. So the vertice we had selected merged to the last vertice. So I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to click here, hold shift, and then while holding shift, click here. I'm then going to hold alt. While holding alt, press M. This brought up our merge menu. I'm then going to select at last. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and then while holding shift, click here. I'm then going to hold alt, and then while holding alt, press M. This brings up our merge menu. I'm then going to select at last. So now we don't have that issue right there with the ear. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom out. I'm going to go to here, then left click for face select. I'm going to hover here, press C for paint select. Paint select just allows you to paint faces, almost like that circle there with the paintbrush. If I roll the mouse wheel one way, I can make that the circle of the paint select bigger. If I roll it the other way, I can make it smaller. Because I'm right in the center of these four vertices, I'll just click here and I select all four of them. I'm then going to right click to get out of paint select. With these four vertices selected, I'm going to press E to extrude. Then going to right click. I made new geometry because we have new geometry right on top of the old. I can press S to scale like this. I'm then going to press E to extrude. You can see the preview line. I'm just going to ride that preview line just like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm going to press S to scale the faces down some. I'm then going to left click. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom out. And there's a way that there's a reason why I shape things the way that I do. I put the ear in here because as I form the face, eventually I'm going to put a loop cut through here, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to work with the ear. Depending on what character I'm working on, sometimes I'll put a loop cut right here. Sometimes I'll have the bridge of the nose come from here down to here. Sometimes I'll have it come from where that loop cut will be eventually right from here, depending on the character. I just rolled the mouse wheel to zoom out. I'm holding the mouse button to turn to the side. I want this neck to look better, so I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan. I'm going to press Z, then click here to go to wireframe. We're on face select. I'm going to go to vertice select. I'm going to hover here, hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to hold the right mouse button down. This allows me to draw a loop select. So with that done and these vertices selected, I can push this forward like this. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to press Z and then select solid. I'm now going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, I'm holding the middle mouse button, taking a look at what we have here. I am going to go to face select. I'm going to press C, paint this area around the ear right here. Right click to get out of paint select. Just came out of paint select just so I could rotate the view. I'm going to press C and then paint again right here. I'm going to right click to come out of paint select so I can rotate the view again. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm going to press G so I can see. I'm then going to press R to rotate on the Y axis. I'm rolling my mouse wheel to increase the area of influence, and this is allowing me to subtly change the shape of the head. I'm then going to left click to lock in that rotation. I'm then going to press G and then X, roll the middle mouse button, and I'm using this to actually change the shape of the head some. So now I'm going to press A to deselect, holding the middle mouse button just to take a look at what we have. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press R to put a loop cut in. I'm going to left click once, and then left click a second time to lock that loop cut in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. I'm then going to click here to go to face select. I'm then going to press C for paint select and select these faces right here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to press R to rotate, something like that. I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to right click to get the new geometry that we just made from extruding to stay in place. Then I'm going to press S to scale, like this. I'm now going to press S to scale on the Z axis like this. I'm going to push that towards itself, something like that. I'm holding the middle mouse button to take a look. One of the things we want to do with the eyes is we want this plane right here to be more flat. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold shift. If you're like, what's he talking about? More flat. We want this to be not pushed back so much. So I'm going to press R to rotate. Oops, we need proportional editing. So I right click to get out of it. I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm then going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. I'm going to roll the area of influence down. So I just rotate it to make this more flat right there. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and click here. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. I didn't pull back. I was about to pull back. I'm going to hold shift and then click here. I'm going to click here as well as here. Roll the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to press G and then Y. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to shrink the area of influence. Pushing this back some like this, not too much. Taking a look. And then for the eyes right here, I'm going to press C. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to deselect right there. I'm going to go to just face select. I'm going to press O to turn off of the proportional editing tool. I'm going to press C for paint select to grab these four faces. When I right click, I'm then going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0 to flatten the eyes out more. I'm going to push them forward some more. I'm going to go to edge select. I'm clicking here just to move the manipulator. I'm going to click here, hold shift, and click here. Pull this back some like that. I'm going to go to vertices select. I clicked here just to move the manipulator out of the way of here. I'm going to push this over some here. Push this over some here. And click here. Hold shift and click here. Pull that back some. Click here. Pull this out to the side some. I know I said don't get caught up in the details, and you really don't want to. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, pull this out to the side. The reason why I'm doing this is we're about to pull the nose out. I'm going to press A to deselect. And we can adjust the facial features later. You want to have them, basically set up, but we can adjust them later on. I'm going to click here to go to face select. And what we're going to do is click here, hold shift, and click here, 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 as well as here. So we turn to the side so we can see the nose coming out. We're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this, about like that. And then what we're going to do is click here to go to edge select. We're going to zoom in. I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to zoom down. I'm going to push this down some like this. Take the manipulator and pull this in some like that. Pull this in. If we want to pull in and actually push this up, we want to push this up some. Push this up some. Grab here, push this up some. Grab here and push this up some like that. And here we're just, pushing and pulling the nose into, somewhat acceptable nose shape here. And again, we can come back and, deal with this later. We have the bottom of the nose right here. We're going to click here to go to vertice select. This is still selected here, so I'm going to press A to deselect. We're going to click here, push this in some here, push this in some here. This right here, I'm going to click here, and push this down some forward. So the main reason why I'm pushing this down some is we're going to extrude. I'm going to push this down. We're going to extrude nostrils from right here. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do is go to face select here. We're going to click here, hold shift and click here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and rotate the view. We're going to press E to extrude on the X axis and then pull these nostrils out like this. I'm then going to left click. I'm then going to press S to scale like this. The nostrils are forward like that. You want to pull them back. When I pull them back so they're kind of like touching right there. If you want, you can push down slightly. Also remember, as you're doing this, things will change once we put the subdivision surface on here. I'm going to press A to deselect. If you're new to Blender and you're like, what in the world is a subdivision surface? Subdivision surface is a modifier that makes this look very smooth. I just rolled the middle mouse button to zoom back. Okay, so with this nose, what we're going to do is this clipping keeps this virtual side from pulling apart from this actual side. So what we're going to do is temporarily turn this off by taking away this check mark right here. The reason why we did that is so we can click here, hold shift and click here. We're going to press E to extrude, right click so our new geometry that we just made stays in place. Then we're going to press S to scale. Now because we have that clipping with the check mark off, the nostrils, we're able to scale and not, stay connected right here. So now that we have the nostril set up like this, what we want to do is put a check mark here so that clipping is back on. Okay, so with these faces still selected, we're going to press E to extrude on the Z axis. And see how these are, not on an axis. We can just press Z again. Then when I left click to lock them in place, I'm holding the mouse button just to make sure that everything seems okay. I'm going to press S to scale. Like that. Taking a look. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button and turn to the side some. I want to give the nose some more shape, so I'm going to click here, hold shift, and then while holding shift, I'm going to click here. Holding the middle mouse button to take a look. I'm going to press E to extrude and just extrude up some like that. I'm then going to press S to scale like that. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Just taking a look. Okay, we're going to make sure we're on face select. We're going to press C for paint select and select these four faces here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm then going to press X to bring up our delete menu. I'm then going to choose faces to delete. I'm then going to click here to go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, I'm going to click here to select that entire edge loop. I'm now going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press S. This brings up our snap menu. We're then going to choose cursor to selected. The reason why we did this is we're going to leave edit mode, go into object mode, and bring a new object in. And where the 3D cursor in Blender is where objects tend to come into Blender at. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click here and then go to object mode. Because we had selected that edge, we have our 3D cursor right here. So with the 3D cursor right there, we're going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, we're going to press A. This brings up our add to menu. We're then going to go to mesh and then select UV sphere. As soon as this sphere comes in, you want to look to your left and see these options right here where it says segment. You want to click here. You want to change this to 12. And then for rings, you want to click here and then change this to 12 as well. I'm then going to press enter to lock that in. What we're going to do now is it's easier for us to work on the eye that we're currently making by just focusing on the eye. So the way we can do that is we can, while being selected on the navigation tab, we can go up here where it says view global/local. Global mode is where you see all of your objects. Local mode is where you only see what you're working on. So I'm going to click here. When you look here, you can see this took us into user ortho local mode. So all of the other objects are still there. We're just in a mode where we're only seeing the eye, so we can focus working on just the eye. Okay, with that being said, we're going to click here to go to front view. Currently, the way this is set up, the part of the eye that will be like the iris is up here. So we want to rotate this. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here to go to edit mode. We're now going to press R to rotate on the x-axis 90, and then left click to lock that rotation in. Okay, and now with this UV sphere rotate, you can see we can use this to form the eye. It just basically makes sense. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press A to deselect. We're going to click here to go to face select. We're going to hover here. We're going to press C for paint select. We're going to select all of this right here. We're then going to right click to get out of paint select. So we have one row here and then one row here. All right. So I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to turn to the side. The main reason that we turned to the side was so we could kind of get like a 3D view of this eye. We're now going to, with these faces selected, we're going to press S to scale on the Y-axis -1, and then left click to lock that scale in. Okay, so what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button, rotate the view. I'm going to hover here, press C for paint select, and select these faces here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button, rotate the view. I'm trying to rotate it so I can see what happens as we extrude this back. So I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y-axis and take this back. I'm then going to left click to lock the extrusion in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, we're about to put a subdivision surface on this. The subdivision surface is going to make this smooth and look soft. However, we don't want this to be soft everywhere. We want this edge to stay hard and this edge to stay hard. So we can do that fairly easily by clicking here, holding Alt. Because I'm holding Alt, when I click this, I select the entire edge loop. We're going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press B, and then pull our mouse to the side slightly. We're then going to left click. When we left click, we can see these bevel options popped up over here. We're going to change the segments to 2 just by clicking here. We're then going to click here and change this to 1. And then press enter to lock that in. We're now going to do the same thing here. We're going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, click here. And then I'm then going to hold Control, then while holding Control, press B. Pull to the side. It popped up for a second, then went away. But it's it being the bevel, it's fine how it is here. It retained the settings of 2 for the segments as well as 1 for the profile. So we're going to press A. So with these edges set up to remain hard, we're going to press A to select this entire eye. We're then going to hold Control, and while holding Control, press 2. And what that did was that put on a subdivision surface modifier on. I'm going to press Z and select smooth. I'm then going to click here to make it look like that modifier is on here. If we clicked here and then went here, it would have done the same thing. The main difference, when we press Control 2, is just easier to put the subdivision surface modifier, but I want you to be aware you could have clicked here and went there to do it as well. Okay, so I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here to go back to object mode. You can see the eye looks, nice looking eye right there. We're in local mode, that's why you can't see anything else. So we're going to click here to come back to global mode. Okay, so with the eye selected, we're going to press S to scale and hold the mouse button to rotate the view. You kind of want the eye like coming out just like slightly like that. And then I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, now what we're going to do is click back on our main head mesh. We're in object mode, so we're going to click here to go back to edit mode. We're going to press A to deselect there. We're going to hover our mouse here. We're going to hold control, and then while holding control, press R. That put one loop cut in. We're going to roll our mouse wheel one time. So now we have two loop cuts. We're going to left click once and then left click a second time to lock those loop cuts in. We're then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. We want this edge right here to be, shaped to the eye. So one of the ways that I found recently to do this a little bit easier is we're going to click here to go to phase select. We're going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, click here. We're now going to hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, press H. And what that does is that hides everything with the exception of everything except what you have selected. So with this like this, what we can do is we can grab our mesh here and basically just work to have this fit somewhat better on the eye. And again, things will change. They'll change when we put our subdivision surface on. Okay, and I'm just holding the middle mouse button, looking at what we have here. And yeah, we don't want it to be, we just want it, to have this match up with the eye a little bit better than it was before. So what we can do is hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press H. And this brings back our, the rest of our geometry. We're going to press A to deselect. Now what we're going to do is go to Edge Select. We're then going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, we're going to click this edge. We're then going to press G twice. And because we pressed G twice, we can slide this edge. So we're just sliding that in. Okay. So yeah, we just push that in just slightly. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to click here, go to object mode. We're going to click here, go to front view. We need to have this eye be on the other side. There's a way we can do it. I'm rolling the middle mouse button to zoom out. There's a way we can do this fairly easily. We click this eye right here. Before we move this eye, we need to reposition the 3D cursor right in the center. We can do that by holding Shift, and then while holding Shift, pressing C. So the 3D cursor jumped to the center of our scene. I'm going to hover my mouse here, hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, press B. Now we just draw a zoom box to zoom in some. Okay, what we want to do is make this 3D cursor the pivot point. Currently our pivot point is the median point, which is the Blender's default pivot point. So what we're going to do is click here, which is our pivot point options. Then we're going to click here and then click here to go to the, change the pivot point to the 3D cursor, not go to anywhere. Just change that to the pivot point. The pivot point to the 3D cursor. So, okay, with this eye selected, what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D. I pull my mouse to the side. I don't click anything. I do this just so I know that the eye is actually duplicated. I'm going to right click to get that eye to jump right back in place. Because our pivot point is set for this 3D cursor and we have the duplicated eye selected, we can press S to scale on the X axis -1 and then left click to lock that scale in place. And basically this eye is now right where it should be, right on the opposite side of this eye. So with that done, we're going to press A to deselect. Okay, now we're going to click back on our main head mesh. We're going to click here and change this pivot point from the, oh, there, I did it again. Change it from the 3D cursor back to Blender's default pivot point, which is the median point. And then with this mesh selected, we're going to click here, then click here to go back to edit mode. Okay, what we're going to do now is hold control, then zoom in. And the nice thing about how we have the mouth open is we left the mouth open so that we can fairly easily add an inside to the mouth. So what we can actually do is I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view like this. Okay, we're going to use a technique. I learned this a little while ago. This is pretty cool. We can work on the inside of the mouth fairly easily by holding Alt, and then while holding Alt, pressing B. We'll then left click and drag a box right here. And what this is this basically shows us the mouth. We can hold the middle mouse button to rotate. However, everything else is hidden from view. Pretty cool, I think. So with the mouth here, what we're going to do is make sure we're on edge select. We're going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, we're going to click here to select that edge loop, the whole edge loop there. Okay, with that edge loop selected, what we're going to do now is we're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. We're then going to press S to scale on the Z axis like this. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis more like that. Then we're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. We're going to press S to scale some more like that. I'm holding the middle mouse button to take a look. Let's press S to scale on the Z axis some more like this, just to make this taller. We're going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. I'm going to press S to scale to make this a little bit bigger. I'm just going to pull back some like that. Holding the mouse button to take a look. I'm going to press S to scale to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis like this. Now I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. I'm going to press S to scale this down like that. Just holding the middle mouse button to rotate to look. Okay, I'm going to press E to extrude, and then right click to get that to stay in place, and then I'm going to press S to scale back a little bit more like that. I'm going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press B to bring back the rest of our mesh. We have our mirror modifier here. I'm going to click this eye to temporarily hide that mirror modifier. Okay, so what we're going to do now is press S to scale. Back a little. We're still on edge select, which is good. We're going to press A to deselect. We're going to click here, hold shift, then click here. We're going to press F to fill in that face right there. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt, then click right here, then press F to fill in that face right there. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to face select. We're going to click right here. We're then going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. If you're like, what is he doing? We're making it tongue. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y axis. Again, then E to extrude on the Y axis. Again, I'm then going to press S to scale on the Z axis. We have these faces here, which we need to get rid of. So we're going to click here, hold shift, and click here. We're going to press X to bring up our delete menu. We're then going to choose faces to delete. We need to get rid of them because we have a mirror modifier on here. So if we have those faces there, you would have this weird, it just wouldn't be right. So what we're going to do now is click here to put the mirror modifier back on. You can see the tongue there doesn't look right. What we can do easily to deal with that though is click here. We should be able to hold Alt and click right here. Oops. Press A to deselect. Let me try again. A to deselect. Right here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect. I thought that would work. I'm going to click here. We're going to click here, hold shift, and then click here. I'm holding shift. Whoops, don't want that. So I'm still holding shift when you select something that you don't want it. If you select it, then hold shift and select it again, you'll unselect it. So with this selected here, we'll turn the eye back on. We can see our tongue is, not right. So now we just push this towards itself. We're then going to go to face select. We're going to click here, and we'll push this towards itself as well. And we're doing that because we're about to make teeth for this. Just hold the middle mouse button and rotate the view. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to click here, go to Object Mode. I'm going to right click here. I'm going to hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, I'm going to press A. I'm then going to, when we press Shift A, brought up our Add To menu. We then want to go to Mesh, then Cube to bring a cube in. We're then going to click here to go to Edit Mode. We're then going to press W, and instead of pressing Subdivide Smooth, we're just going to click Subdivide. We're going to look to our left where we see these number of cuts. We're going to take this up to 3 for the number of cuts. I want to focus just on this cube, so I'm going to go to where we see we're in the navigation tab where it says View Global/Local. We're going to click here to go to Local View. I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to press, we have a navigation mode. I'm going to go here to go to front view. I'm going to press Z and then go to wireframe. I'm going to press A to deselect. We're on face select. I'm going to press B, left click and drag for box select. So we're essentially doing what we did to the head mesh in the beginning. We're going to put a mirror modifier on this. So we're selecting this. We have this, the front and the back selected of what you see because we're in wireframe mode. We're going to press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Here's our, center right here and a point of origin right there. So we're going to click here, and we can see our mirror modifier, went right to the other side. We're going to click here so our virtual geometry looks like our actual geometry. Then we're going to click here so that the geometry, on this side doesn't pull away from the actual geometry on this side. So the virtual geometry on this side doesn't pull away from the actual geometry on this side. Okay, we're currently in front view, so we're going to press A to select everything. We're then going to press S to scale on the Z axis. Like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that in. I'm then going to click here to go to top view. We're then going to press S to scale on the Y axis. like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that scale in. Okay, with all of our geometry selected, we're going to press R to rotate, like that. I'm then going to left click to lock that rotation in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom up some, like that. Okay, I'm going to press A to select everything. Actually, I want this to be a little bit thinner, so I'm going to press S to scale on the Y-axis, like that. I'm now going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hover my mouse here. I have face selected. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to select these faces here. I'm going to pull to the side some. I'm going to press R to rotate. Then I'm going to pull up like this. I'll rotate some more. Pull up like that. Well, I'm going to rotate even more. There we go. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm now going to click here to go to vertice select. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to press B for box select. I'm going to select right here. I'm going to press E to extrude. And when you extrude, you left click to lock the extrusion in. You kind of want this section to be like the same. You want the sections to be around the same size. I'm going to press R to rotate. And what we are doing now is we're forming the gums. We want there to be 6 sections on one side. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press E to extrude. So we have 4 sections. We need 2 more. For this right here, I want this to be going straight back. I want this to be flattened. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Y-axis 0, and then left click to lock that in. That being our scale. Okay, I'm going to hold control in the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to hold shift in the middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y-axis. So I'm kind of, again, looking at the distance here. I'm going to press E to extrude on the Y-axis. Like that. Then I'm going to press A to deselect. And we can make adjustments. This is generally the right shape. It does look a little bit long to me, so I'm going to press A to select everything. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y-axis, like that. And I think I'll push it towards itself. I'll then press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view some. I'm going to press Z, then click here to go to solid view. These faces here will be covered up by the mouth, so we want to make sure we're on face select by clicking here. We're going to hover here, press C. I'll roll the mouse wheel to make my paint select smaller, and then I'll paint select. Roll it to make it smaller again. Paint select here. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm now going to press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose faces to delete. Okay, we still want to be on face select. We want to hold Alt and then click right here. I'm going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press S. Then I'm going to pull out some. That Alt S that I used, I'm going to left click to lock that in, is a special kind of scale that makes things thinner or thicker. What I'm going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt, then select here to select that group of faces. I'm then going to hold Alt, then press S, and do the same thing here. Then left click to lock that in. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, this is where our teeth are actually going to come out of. So I'm going to press, we're on face select, which is good. I'm going to press C for paint select and select all of this right here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis 0, and then left click that to lock that in. That just makes sure that this is flat. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. See how there's a row right here? We do not want that row right there. What we want is this row right here. So we're going to click here, and we're going to use this row to make our teeth. So I'm holding shift to just select that whole, you know, or select all of these faces here. Anyway, I don't know if it's whole, but what you see right here is what we want selected. Okay, what we're going to do now is go to our pivot point option. We're going to change our pivot point from the default pivot point, which is the median point, to individual origins. What we're about to do is do a technique that I use that allows us to make teeth fairly quickly. We want this face to select from this face, so we're going to click here to turn off this clipping so that, you know, this face will separate from that face. We're also going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press E. This brings up our extrude menu. We're going to select individual faces. So we're going to left click there. I'm then going to right click. Because we did that, what we can do is now press S to scale. And when we scale all of our faces individually. So we don't want too much space in between our teeth. That is good. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to get more of a little bit better of a 3D view. I'm going to take this manipulator and push down a little like that. While we have these faces selected, we're going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press E. This brings up our edges menu. We're then going to select Mark Seam. Okay, and marking the seam doesn't do anything as far as us, you know, for geometry. It just sets up things to make it possibly easier for us in the future. So with these faces still selected and with our face select on, we're about to extrude down our actual teeth. We can go here, click here, and then change this from the change the pivot point from individual origins back to Blender's default pivot point, which is median point. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold them in the mouse button and rotate the view down. So I'm going to press E to extrude. I'm going to press Z. When I press Z, the preview line went away, so I'll just press Z again. And then we'll just push these teeth down. And then I'm going to left click, take a look at them. They look decent to me. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. We're going to put a check mark here to turn that clipping back on. We're going to press A to select all of the geometry of our teeth. We could press Control 2 to put a subdivision smooth on there. That's the quickest way. I did that last time, so this time I'll go here, and then I'll go and actually go to subdivision surface. This does, again, the same thing as holding Control and pressing 2. With the exception of this view is set for 1, so we just click this, take this up to 2. With this still selected, we want to click here to make it look like the modifier is applied. We also, with everything selected, everything being our geometry is what I mean, I'll press Z, then select Shade Smooth. Okay, when you look here, you can see the subdivision surface modifier made our teeth look strange. So what we can do is click here to go to front view. We'll press A to deselect. We'll then press Z, then go to wireframe. And what we're going to do here is we're going to press B for box select. We're going to select all these faces here. Then we're going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press E. Now what this does is this activates something called a crease. It allows us to adjust our crease. So when we pull, the more we pull, the harder our teeth get. So we don't want our teeth to be totally hard, so they're square. We want them to still have some curve to them, how teeth do. So we're going to left click here. We're then going to press Z and then go back to solid view. Press A to deselect, and that's what those lines are. That's the crease menu. Uh, just so you know about it, as a matter of fact, I'm going to press N, and that crease menu, when I click here, I press Z, go to wireframe, press B. I'm just showing you what this crease is. See this right here? This is what we were increasing when we pressed Shift E, we were adjusting this mean crease. Now we can manually, with these selected, click here and move this slider, and this will make the teeth get harder one way and then less hard the other way. So just so you know what that is, I'm going to press N to take away that properties panel. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm then going to press Z and then select here to go to solid view. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to select our geometry here. We're going to hold Shift, and then while holding Shift, press D. We just duplicated the geometry. I pulled to the side a little just so I know that, you know, we succeeded in duplicating the geometry. We're then going to right click to get that geometry to jump right back. We're now going to press S to scale on the Z axis, -1, and then left click to lock that geometry in. We're then going to take our manipulator. I'm grabbing the blue arrow and push this down like this. We could have also pressed G and then Z to do the same thing. This is an easy way to get the bottom teeth. See how the color looks strange? The reason why that is most likely is because the normals are not facing the right direction. What normals are they are the direction that polygons basically face. So this lets us know that instead of the normals facing out like these ones, this strange shading lets us know that the normals are facing inward. And it's because of the way that we scaled. It's pretty easy to fix. We can hold Control and then press N. And what that does is that recalculates our normals. Okay, we're going to press A to deselect. If by some chance you see that shading and it doesn't, that shading, and when you press Control N, your normals don't recalculate, what you can do is press W and then try this right here where it says flip normals. And a lot of times if Control N, which recalculates normals, doesn't work, pressing W and then choosing flip normals most of the time will work. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click here to go to object mode. We're now going to click here. You can see we're in local mode, so now we're going to click here. Actually, now we're going to, I said now a second ago, we're actually clicking here now. We click here to go back to our global mode, and what we're going to do is take the manipulator and push these teeth in place. I'll push them purposely out of the face somewhat. Now I'm going to press S to scale them down. S to scale down. Generally, what I do when I put the teeth is you know, you know when somebody smiles, the line of the teeth is right here. So I use that to help line up the teeth. I'm going to click here and go to orthographic. See, here's the center line right here, so we can take that center dot, and now we know the teeth are right there in the center of our head mesh. Okay, I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to click here on our head mesh. I'm going to click here to go to edit mode. We're going to put some seams on here so that we can unwrap this head. If you are unfamiliar with UV unwrapping, it allows you to put textures or images on objects. So to unwrap a head, generally the way it goes is you go to edge select. Typically I click somewhere around here. And I say somewhere around here, like if you were dealing with another mesh. I'm so used to doing this method of making heads, I pretty much, you know, click here, I know right where to go. But if you were dealing with another mesh, you know, pretty much the same area. Basically, the way you, the seams, the way you think of seams are, the best way I've heard described is seams for your clothing. So If you look on your clothes, you can kind of see where the seams are at. That's kind of like where seams go as far as setting up UV unwrapping. If you're like, why is he talking about seams? Basically, to put images on a 3D object, you need to take that 3D object and set it up so it can be laid out flat. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying seams. That's why I'm mentioning clothes, because your clothes are going on your body, which is a 3D object. However, for them to be made to get onto your body, which is a 3D object, they have to have these, or most of the time, they have these seams in them. So we have this seam right here, right? We're going to hold shift, then click here, then here. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button. I'm going to hold control now. Because I'm holding control, I'm using the shortest path, sorry, not palette. And the shortest path is just a way of going from one selection to another. With that setup like that, I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, press E. I'm then going to select, and then when we press control E, it brought up our edges menu. I'm now going to select mark seam. That line shows us that this seam is marked, and what this means is that when we unwrap this, this will kind of split here to allow us to try to lay out this mesh flat. Makes more sense when you see it. Okay, as far as seams, when dealing with the face, you want to generally dodge the face when you're marking seams. So I'm clicking here, and I'm going to hold shift and click here, then here, then here, then here. I'm going to hold control. Now, while holding control, I'm going to press E. This brings up our edges menu. I'm then going to select mark seam. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm now going to hold Alt. Click here. Hold the middle mouse button. Let go of Alt. I'm now holding Shift and Alt. I'm now letting go of Shift and Alt. Now I'm holding Shift and Alt again. And then with this entire edge going around here like that, I'm going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press E. This brings up our edges menu. I'm then going to select mark seam. I'm then going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to hold Control on the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to hold Control on the middle mouse button to get closer. We're going to make sure we're on edge select. We're going to hold Alt and then click here to grab that whole edge loop right there. I'm then going to hold Control, and then while holding Control, press E. This brings up our edges menu. I'm then going to select mark seam. I'm then going to press A to deselect. I'm now going to hold Control on the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. We're in our navigation tab. So here in our navigation tab, I'm going to click View Global / Local to go in the local view. I'm going to click here to take away our mirror modifier. I'm going to hold Shift and middle mouse button to pan the view. I'm going to hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold Shift. Trying to think of the easiest way to show. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press C. I'm going to go to face select. I'm going to select these faces here. Now that method I showed you earlier, the Alt B, is better than this. However, it's making me have to stop using to turn off my screencast keys to use it. So I'm just going to select here, press H to hide that. I'm going to press C, paint right here. I pressed right click to get out of C. I'm going to press H to hide that. So now I'm going to go to edge select. I'm going to select here, hold shift. I'm still holding shift. Then I'm going to click here. I let go of shift. Now I'm re-holding shift. Now I'm clicking here. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press E. This brings up our edges menu. I'm then going to select mark seam. I did that so we could have a seam, for the tongue. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is hold Alt. Then while holding Alt, I'm going to press H to unhide everything. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click this to bring back our mirror modifier. I rolled the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Now I'm going to click on this view global / local to go back to global view. I'm going to hold control and the middle mouse button to zoom back now. Okay, I'm going to click to go to face select. I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm going to paint all of this right here to select where I think hair should be at. So I'm going to press C. Right click to get out of paint select. Okay, with these faces selected, what we want to do is go to what looks like this triangle here. See where it says vertex groups here? We want to click this plus button. When we did that, this vertex group was made. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to name this scalp. I'm going to press enter. I'm then going to click assign. Now when we press assign, Blender sees this as this vertex group is now associated. I mean, these faces are associated with this vertex group now, and by having these faces known to Blender as this vertex group, it allows us to have multiple options. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. Okay, we have most of the, the things we need for our head now. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, rotate the view. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press A to select our mesh. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to press 2. And what that did was that put a subdivision surface modifier on our mesh. I'm going to click here on what looks like a wrench. This is our modifier button. I'm then going to click here so it looks like the modifier is applied. I'm then going to press Z and then select Shade Smooth. Okay, I'm going to click. Actually, I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, then go to object mode so you can kind of see what our character looks like. And basically what we have is everything is in place. So what we can do is now work to define this character more, since the basics of his face are there. So now we come in and we can do things like click here, go to tools, then click smooth vertex here to smooth that out. As far as the eyes, we'll click here, hold shift, just hold the middle mouse button to rotate. We'll just push this out some like this. Same thing here, we'll click there, hold shift, click here, push this out some like that. I'm going to hold shift and select here. Okay, I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis for here. Click here, hold shift and click here. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis for here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to go to the navigation tab, go to view global / local. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to hold Alt. Click right here on this edge. I'll zoom in some more. I'm going to press E to extrude. Right click to keep that geometry in place. I'll pull back slightly. I'm going to press E to extrude again. Right click, keep the geometry in place and pull back a little bit more. Now I'm going to click here again to come back into global mode. And what we can do now is we can shape our character's face. What you want to do is kind of get there's something we want to put a line right here. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold control. While holding control, I'm going to press R. That put a loop cut there. I'm then going to left click. I'm then going to left click a second time to lock that in. And the reason why I wait to put this line in here is it's just easier to model without it at first. So we can kind of like start to define our cheekbones and things more just by pushing and pulling vertices. because most of the hard work is done. I tend to like this to be have a sharper edge right here. So what I'm going to do is hold Control, press R. I'm then going to put a loop cut right here. Then I'm going to left click once. I'm going to left click a second time. And what I'm going to do is press C for paint select. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to deselect right here. Then I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. Then I'm going to push this up some here. Now I'm going to click here. I just like the brow to have like a sharper edge here. We can come back to object mode to see what our character looks like. It's kind of hard right here. Like we have, you know, this. So what we can do is click here to go to sculpt mode. Okay, here in sculpt mode, we can go to our tools panel. We can click here and have access to our different brushes. If we click here for the smooth tool, what we can do is take this strength down some. That's my screen capture, maybe. It's affecting that. I'm going to put this at a 0.25 and then press enter. And then what we can do is like this right here. We can smooth this out, and then this, how this is going in, we can click here, go to inflate, kind of fill this out some. I'll press F and then drag my brush. I can make my brush bigger or smaller, and I can you know, put some kind of like flesh here. I'm going to hold shift, and that automatically makes my smooth brush. You'll see like this is the inflate brush. When I hold shift and I left click, I automatically activate the smooth brush. In sculpt mode, it's fairly easy to adjust our character to make it more how we want it to be. Our character. I find that there's a neat thing for changing how the character looks. Sometimes it's easier to go back to edit mode for certain things. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold control. Then while holding control, press R to put a loop cut in. I'm then going to left click. Then left click again to lock that in. What I want is to pull this back some, down some. Another thing I want to do since we're in edit mode is I'm going to go to our navigation tab, click the right view. I'm going to press A, I'm going to press Z, go to wireframe. I'm going to go to phase select. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, I'm going to hold the right mouse button. And I wanted to grab all of this right here. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to press Z, then go to solid view. I'm going to press C to deselect here. So hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Basically, I'd like to have my front lip further out than my bottom lip, and I think that's how it is in most people. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to click here, go to cursor select. I'm then going to press S to scale. Oops, I need to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. Then I'm going to press S to scale. Push up. And just like that, now my bottom lip is behind my front lip. Okay, and we have this right here. I'm going to I'm going to actually make this a vertex group. I'm going to click here, then click here, and then I'm going to double click here and name this lower jaw, press enter, and then click assign. Okay, what we're going to do now is press A to deselect. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button and rotate the view. I'm going to press O to turn off proportional editing tool. I'm going to click here and change this from the 3D cursor. This is the pivot point to Blender's default pivot point, which is the medium point. Then going to click, go to edge select. I'm going to click here, hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view, push that forward. I find that if we want to have like heroic looking characters, we tend to make the jaw bigger. If we want to make more brainier looking characters, we tend to make the jaw smaller. It helps, I find, to go to face select. I'm gonna hold Alt select here. I'm gonna hold Shift and Alt, then select here, here, as well as here. I have this area here now, so I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt and then select right here. Zoom in a little bit more, maybe more than a little bit. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt and then select here. I'm going to go to vertex group. I'm going to click here and I clicked plus, which made a new group. I'm going to name this eye area. I'm then going to click assign. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press H to hide that eye area. Okay, now what we're going to do is hold Control and the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to press C for paint select again. I'm going to select all of this right here. Don't think I want that. So I'm holding the middle mouse button to get rid of that. I want the nose. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate so I can see what I have. I want this inside part of the nose. So I just held the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm then going to right click to come out of paint select. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm going to press C for paint select here. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. And what I should be able to do, since I have one of the advantages of having a seam right here, I should be able to, while I'm on face select, hover here. The seam is right here, so this is past the seam. I should be able to press L, and that worked. I was able to grab the entire inside of the mouth. I want the tongue as well because the tongue had a seam on it, so I'm going to hover here, then press L. Okay, so now with those faces selected, I'm going to click plus. This new group popped up. I'm going to click here and name this lower face area. I'm then going to press enter and then click assign. So now this is a vertex group as well. Okay, I'm going to press H and we can see right here we missed this. I'm going to zoom in more. I'm going to hold Shift and click here. I'm going to click assign so that these pieces can be joined as well. So I'm going to hold Alt, then press H. I'm going to press A to deselect. So we should be able to go to eye area, click select, then hit H. We should be able to go to lower face area, click select, and then hit H. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press H to bring everything back. I'm gonna press A to deselect. We're gonna go to right view. I'm gonna hold the middle mouse button and zoom back. I want to select lower jaw for our group, then click select to select it. I'm gonna click here and change our pivot point from the medium point to the 3D cursor. I'm then gonna press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. And I'm then going to press R to rotate on the x-axis. I'm just going to, actually, this is the regular proportional editing tool. We can hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press O to bring up our connected proportional editing tool. And long story short, that makes us, the connected proportional editing is extremely limited to just the geometry we have here. So I'm going to press R to rotate on the x-axis, and I'm doing this because I want the characters' mouth to be shut. So now I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to press O, then press O again to turn off the connected proportional editing tool. I'm going to click here and then select medium point instead of the 3D cursor, so we're back to Blender's default pivot point. Okay, the reason why I set up those vertex groups was I find that with these vertex group we can click here, then click select, then click here, then click select. We can now press H, so we hide this area right here. We can then click here, go to sculpt mode, and here in sculpt mode what we can do with those areas hidden but showing here, they're basically protected here because we can't move them because they're hidden. We can go to our tools panel here and fairly easily change our characters around because of the fact that that area is protected. So if we want like a big, tough guy, strong, we make the jaw nice and big, push the brow down some, and we have your tough guy, kind of like more tough guy looking guy character here, right? Just by pushing and pulling. And because we have those areas protected, the basic bone structure of the character's head is pretty much protected. Suppose we want our character to look more like some kind of inventor type character. What we can do is we can click here, go back to edit mode. What we'll do is we'll hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, press H to bring back our geometry. And then what we'll do is we'll select the eye area, click select, then press H to hide that area. We'll then click here, then go to sculpt mode. So now here in sculpt mode, we know this eye area is protected, so we can do some changes to the nose, purposely trying to make the character look like a different character. We'll make our character's ears a little bit bigger. Push in the chin some. Depending on what we're trying to do, we can click here, go back to edit mode, and work from edit mode. So here I'm going to click here. I'm going to press S to I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to press G, then X, and this, make this character's features, as far as its chin, smaller, not too small. Now I'll come back to sculpt mode. And hopefully you can see how, just by hiding the things, we start to get different type looks to our character. If your mouth starts to separate, you can click here, go to inflate mode. Go back to grab. And basically what I'm trying to do is just get a different type character than it looked like when we started. So that's why I had you set up that area, these different vertex groups. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click here, go to edit mode. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt, and then while holding Alt, I'm going to press H to unhide our geometry. I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is hover my mouse here. I'm going to left click and drag to the side. I'm then going to click here, go up, and then select UV image editor. I'm now going to hover my mouse here, press A to select our mesh. I'm then going to press U. This brings up our UV mapping menu. I'm then going to select unwrap. And what we have here now is we have, because of our seams, we see our character map right here. And actually what I want to do is I'd rather have the character have both of the sides of its face. So I'm going to click here to go to object mode. I'm going to click here, and this is our mirror modifier. Mirror modifier options. So currently our mirror modifier is making this part of the geometry appear like it's there. I want it to actually be there. So what I can do is I can click apply. So now that mirror modifier isn't showing up because now this actually is there. So we actually have the geometry that you see here now. So with that done, I'm going to click here, go back to edit mode. And now I'm, with this being, both halves are, the one head mesh, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press U again. And then that brought up our UV mapping. I'm then going to select unwrap again. And this time you can see that, well, maybe you can't see, or maybe you might not understand it. This is the one half of the character's face. This is the other half. If you're like, why does it look like that? This is just the character laid out flat right here. Okay, we're going to put a texture on our character. And one of the things that tends to make textures look a lot better, as far as what I think, is having an ambient occlusion on it. And what an ambient occlusion is if you've ever seen anybody paint war miniatures, a lot of times, like, people will take the paint and they'll paint, like, they might paint a character blue, and then they'll take, like, black paint and they'll kind of, like, water down the black paint and put that over the war miniature so that the black paint goes in the cracks. Ambient occlusion is kind of like that. It shows darkness where darkness normally should be at, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to click new. We're going to click right here where this, has us the ability to put a name in. We're going to name this ambient occlusion. Then we're going to press enter to lock that name in. We're then going to click OK. I'm going to zoom back. Whenever you see this image here with that little mark right there, that means that this is not saved. This being, what I'm talking about, this image right here. Okay, that's fine because we don't have our ambient occlusion set up yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here in our world settings. We're going to put a check mark here. See where it says factor? We're going to change this from 1 to 0.25. We're then going to press enter. Okay, what we're going to do now is click here to go to our render button. We're going to go down to where we see bake. This is in the output settings. We're going to click here. Bake is by default set for full render. We're going to click here and set this for ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion pretty much basically puts darkness where light doesn't, where light shouldn't be able to get to. So Long story short, ambient occlusion generally makes things look better. So with this setup, what we're going to do now is click here, go to object mode. When I click bake, Blender's going to look at this, see where light shouldn't hit, and then basically put it on over on this UV map, even though you can't see it because I'm in object mode. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to click here to select for bake. Here's our ambient occlusion. You can see that popped up right there right now. Okay, now that we have this, we need to save this. So, and that's that little mark right there. So we're going to click image, save as image. Make sure you have a folder to put it in, and then, save. And now you can see that little mark isn't there anymore because now this is saved. I'm gonna, with this clicked on, I'm gonna click here, go to edit mode. I'm gonna hold the mouse button, rotate. I'm gonna press A to deselect. I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna press O to turn off the proportional editing tool. I'm gonna hold Alt select here, hold Shift and Alt, then select here. And I'm gonna press S to scale like this. I'm now gonna press A to deselect. I'm gonna hold Alt, then select here. I'm gonna press S to scale here. The character seems better with a thinner neck. So I'm going to press A to deselect now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to press A to select our mesh. This right here, we don't need this inside of Blender. We don't need this. We don't need it inside of Blender because we have this outside of Blender saved. What we're going to do now is we're going to click here. I'm going to go to texture paint. This says missing texture slot, so what we can do is click add paint slot. We'll select diffuse color. It says material diffuse color. If we click here, we can change this from another color, but black with black is fine. So we'll click OK. This that you see right here is our ambient occlusion color. We can hit X to get rid of that. Then we can click here and we can see here's the material diffuse color that Blender made for us. So we'll click here. So there's that color right there. Okay, so what we can do now is we can pick the color that we want. Pick color somewhere around here. And then we can just start painting. Hold the mouse button. And this right here actually says 0.700. I want to take the strength all the way up. Just hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm holding the middle mouse button to pan the view or rotate the view, and I hold shift and middle mouse button to pan the view. So I'm just going around painting this whole thing. There's multiple ways we could do this, including just using a fill brush to do this. Because if you click here, there's a fill brush right here. I'm just choosing to paint it. See how areas like this are hard to get? One of the things we can do is zoom in here. See where this says view? We can click here, change this to paint. I can press F and then push in to shrink my area of influence for my paintbrush. And I can just click here. And you'll see that here, responds to us painting on here. So, pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Get this a little bit here. Okay, so what we're going to do now, see that little symbol there? This isn't saved, so we're going to click here, then click Save as Image. It's named Material Diffuse Color, that's fine. So I'm going to click Save as Image. So now that's saved, and because it's saved, that little symbol went away. Okay, now our character, skin is very smooth. What we can do is we can use Blender to help us. I'm going to hover my mouse here, pull this to the side. We can use Blender to help us as far as making the skin not look so smooth. And the way we can do that is we can click here, go to object mode, and what we are going to do is we're going to, with this selected, we're going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, we're going to press D. We're going to pull this to the side just to make sure this is duplicated. We're going to right click, and then what we're going to do is we're going to press M. This brings up our move to layer menu, and we're going to select this layer right here. So we put a duplicate of this mesh here down here. So with this duplicate here, we're going to go to our modifier panel. We're going to turn off our subdivision surface by clicking this eye, at least make it appear like it's turned off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click here. We're going to select a multi-resolution modifier by clicking here, and then we're going to click subdivide. Be careful of this. If you're depending on the strength of your computer, the more you click subdivide, you might start having issues. I find for the step that I want to show you, I'm going to have to take it up to 5. I originally learned how to do this from David Ward. He's got all kinds of spectacular tutorials. He recommends 5. I recommend 5 as well. Be careful of your computer though. And you might sit there and say, okay, why did you take this off to put this on here when this looks kind of like the same? This actually is a whole lot more polygons than this, a whole lot more. And those polygons, the large amount of polygons allows us to do very small details, such as working with the skin, which is what we're about to do now. If you've followed along and your computer, depending on the strength, started slowing down, it's because of this. You might want to skip this step if your computer, depending on its power. So, okay, so with this done, what we want to do now is we want to click here, then go to sculpt mode. I'm just going to pull this over here more like that. Okay, so here in scope mode, what we want to do is we want to use a brush to actually put skin texture on this. The way we're going to do that is we're going to click here. We're going to go to the draw brush. And then what we're going to do is click here where it says, texture. We're going to click new texture. And we're going to go right from here, straight past the material button, right to the texture button here. Blender is aware of whether you come from scope mode to this texture button or whether you come from the material button to this texture mode. So you want to come right from sculpt right to this texture mode right here, okay? Okay, what we want to do here is we want to click here and then select clouds. And then where this says size here, we want to click here and then enter 0.03 and then press enter. Okay, what we just did was we just made a brush that will use that texture. You can see it here, you can see it here. And this is useful for when you look at human skin, it's not smooth like this. It has, a surface something like this. So that's, why we went from sculpture right to texture. I was saying that so we could make this brush right here. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to click on strength and change this from 0.5 to 0.15. I'll then press enter to lock that in. Okay, so with that done, I'll press F, then pull out some, and we're going to just start adding detail to the skin here. And basically what we're doing is we're just making the skin not be smooth. And it's subtle, but it's also cool. So I'm just, basically putting it all over the place. Because we have that multi-resolution modifier on here, it's allowing us to do this because we are actually putting detail into this actual mesh. Which requires a lot of polygons to do. I'm just, putting it in there. Okay, so now we have some detail for our skin. Since we have all of this extra geometry, we might as well take advantage of it. So I'm going to click here to get rid of that. We're going to put some extra detail in. So see how this says add? This makes it so you kind of see this. When I hold control, the opposite will happen. So instead of adding, increase the strength up. Instead of adding, this will take away when I hold control. There we go. So what we can do is just add in some extra detail here. When I do things like that, I can press F. Then I can hold Shift, and Shift will automatically make this go to smooth that out some. Go to this. Take the strength up some. And I'm just, putting some bags underneath the eyes, kind of because I can. Press an F, put some, some of these here. I'll press Shift to smooth that out. I'll go to here and Shift. Maybe we'll go to the lips and use this to put some detail in here. I'm gonna press F. It's bigger. Hold Shift. Smooth that out some more. Holding Shift, I'm just smoothing that out. And we lost some detail, so let me actually click here again. Click here, and then click here to bring this back. Change the strength back down to 0.15 and press enter and re-put that detail in there. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay. Does I have to remind myself I'm making a tutorial? You can get caught up. And Blender it's fun. It can be very frustrating when I click here to take this away again. It can be frustrating, but I think the reward is the reward of Blender is the frustration that you feel. It's kind of like, and I'm just adding some extra details just kind of because I can. Let's move this out. The reward I think of Blender is, you know, sometimes like when you are struggling somewhat, you feel that much better when you succeed. Click here. Click here yet again. Click here, click here, click here, enter in the value of 0.15, enter. Okay, so what we're going to do is this detail that we put in here, if you wanted to animate this, this would cause you issues most likely because it takes a lot of power to deal with this geometry. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here, go back to edit mode. I'm going to hover here, pull this out to the side like this. What we're going to do now is we're going to click here, then we're going to go to image, click new image, and then here we're going to enter in the name normal map, and then press enter to lock that in. We'll then hit OK. I'll then zoom back, and I'll click here, and then I'll click save as image. Save as image. This isn't the normal map yet. Okay, what a normal map is when you take the geometry basically from a high poly model like this and then bake it onto a low poly model. So the way it works is if you have two similar models, one high poly and one low poly, you can pretty much take like basically the shadows and things, which is for the most part how we tend to see light anyway, and put that on the low poly model. So it looks like the low poly model has the high poly details on it, but because it doesn't, that makes things a lot easier on your computer, and it makes it so your computer can handle animating the low poly. You know, there's big advantages to it. So here we have our, you know, high poly model right here. Okay, and what we did was we put this high poly model on this layer here. And when we click here, here's our low poly model. So what we're going to do is click on our low poly model, click here, go to edit mode. We're going to click here to take away that ambient occlusion. We're going to click here and select the normal map for this low poly model. Now we're going to click here, go to object mode. We're going to hold shift and then click here. All right, so because I held shift, we have both of these two layers selected. Both of the models are pretty much on top of each other, which is why you see this, kind of strangeness here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here, click on this one, right? See, this is named cube.002. I'm going to double click here and name this detail, then press enter to lock that in. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to click here and then click here on our low polyed mesh. We'll double click here and we'll name this simple and then press enter to lock that in. Okay, now what we're going to do is hold shift and then click here. So now we have these two layers both selected. So I'm going to press A so that neither the simple nor the detailed mesh are selected. Then what I'm going to do is click here to go to our render settings. I'm going to scroll down so we can see bake. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to change this bake mode from ambient occlusion to normal simply by left clicking here. We're then I'm going to pull this out to the side so you can see this. I just hover over here and you can see these two arrows pop up. That's how you pull that to the side. I'm going to put a check mark here next to selected to active. And what we want to do, particularly because of this selected to active, is we want to go up, we want to click first on the detailed or high poly mesh, hold shift, and then second, click the simple or low poly mesh. Okay, now with that done, what we want to do is click bake. Okay, now you can see the normal map right here. When you look here, see where it says image, it has that little symbol next to image. This lets us know that this needs to be saved. So we're going to click here, and then we're going to go to save as image. We're going to click there, and then we're going to just click save as image. And now you can see the little symbol isn't next to image anymore. Okay, when I did that normal map, I actually stopped the video. This took about 2 to 4 minutes to have this normal map come out. Depending on the power of your computer, it might take longer than that. The normal map allows you to take a lot of the detail from your high poly model and put that onto the low poly model. You can kind of see like this detail here in the neck, like right there, how that is on the normal map. Okay, and I'll try to show you how this works. If I click on this layer here, you can see this is just the low poly mesh right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to press N to bring up our properties panel. I'm then going to scroll down where this says multi-texture. I'm going to click here. I'm going to change this to GLSL. I'm then going to click here. I'm then going to change this to material. I'll click here, pull this light forward like that. Just help shift the middle mouse button to pan. Okay, I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to left click and drag, hover here, then push this over. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press A. I'm then going to select a lamp to bring a lamp in. I'm going to select Hemi. I'm now going to right click here. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press A. This brings up our add to menu. I'm then going to select an empty. An empty is a non-renderable object. I'm then going to select cube. I'm then going to click on this light, hold shift, and then while holding shift, click here. I'm now going to hold control, and then while holding control, press T. This brings up our make track menu. I'm going to select track to constraint. Okay, and what I just did here is I'm just putting some light in here so you can have a more easy way to see the normals working. Right now the normal is not set up, so you can see when you look at this, see how smooth everything looks. So with this light setup, what I did here is I brought in this empty. So wherever we move this empty, so if I click here and I move it, the light will track to wherever this empty is at. So just a nice way to control things as far as lighting. Okay, and with this light set up like this, if I hold the middle mouse button to rotate, if I click here, hold shift, and then while holding shift press D, then right click, when I pull this other light out, the light is automatically tracked to that empty. So it can be useful. Okay, what we're going to do now is click on our mesh right here, our simple mesh. We're then going to click materials. We're then going to click textures. Okay, now we want to bring in a new texture, so we're going to click right here. We're going to click new. Under name, we're going to name this normal map, then press enter to lock that in. We're going to scroll down. You want to focus your attention on influence. Okay, so you have your triangle, influence. All right, so here under influence, what you want to do, again, influence is take away the influence of the color by taking away this check mark. Then what you want to do is put a check mark next to geometry. Now we haven't loaded the normal map in yet. So now what you want to do is click here and then select normal map. And as soon as this normal map comes in, you can see this right here. Hold the middle mouse button. You can see the detail of the skin that we put in from the normal map. Now, one of the things, when you look at this, you can see like a little bit of detail here, very slight around the eyes and very slight around the neck. That's why typically when you're working with normals, sometimes it is a good idea to put in extra detail, because you'll lose some of the detail. And most likely the reason why, like, if you're like, well, how come you don't see this here? Because this mesh didn't have things raised up here too much, as well as on the neck. So you can see detail there, but not like, you know, the original high poly mesh. You can, there's multiple ways of doing it. My main interest with the normal map here was I kind of added this extra detail in there because I could, but my main interest actually was this skin texture right here. And this is pretty much, you know, just how the detailed high poly mesh was. Okay, so we have our normal map on our mesh here. Now what we want to do is have the ambient occlusion map that we made work to our favor. I like to work as far as using the ambient occlusion map inside of an image editor. You could use multiple image editors to do this next step. You could use Photoshop, you could use Krita. We are going to use Gimp. Gimp is a free open source image editor. So that's what we're about to use now. So what I'm going to do is go to where I have my maps stored. So here is our ambient occlusion. Here's our material diffuse color. I'm going to right click here. I'm then going to choose open with Gimp. And when I click here, you can see there's that map right there. I'm going to go back to our textures. Here's ambient occlusion. I'm going to left click this, right click, and then choose open with Gimp. So now you can see this is inside of Gimp as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to left click on our layer here in Gimp. I'm then going to select here, edit, copy. I'm then going to click on this tab that has our main diffuse color. I'm then going to click edit, paste into, and then you can see here's the ambient occlusion. It says floating layer, floating selection pasted layer here. I'm going to click new layer. It's just a way to get it out of that floating selection. And with this done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this layer, which is above our material diffuse layer here, right? If I hide this, you can see there's the material diffuse layer. Right here are our blending modes. So what you see here is the normal blending mode. We want to change this to soft light to have this ambient occlusion blend with this, but not totally overpower it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here. We can see all of our different blending modes. Different blending modes allow you to mix multiple layers. There's pretty much, whether it's Photoshop, Krita, or Gimp, you'll have most of the same blending modes. We're going to go to soft light. And basically what you see is, we had this black and white ambient occlusion here. You can kind of see like the color coming through here, and basically where things should be dark is basically what's going on as far as, how these two layers are blended together. Okay, typically when I work and I have, something that I need as far as two layers being together like this, I'll typically go to layer and then new from visible, which I really like that Gimp has this. And what this would do is make a new layer above, here, combine of both these layers together. However, what you can do is just with these layers, set up like this, which you can see here, what I'm going to do is click File, Export As, right? So here is our material diffuse color. This is what we brought in right here. So because we worked on this layer, Gimp is saying, look, do you want to export out on top of this? And yes, that's what I want. So I'm going to click Export, and it's going to say, a file name, material diffuse color, .png already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. Then, all of these other options, I'm going to click Export. That's one of the things in Gimp. You export things. So in Gimp, you don't save the file, you export the file out to get the get the file out that you were working on, like what we're working on here, or what we worked on here, I should say. Okay, so we're going to go back to Blender. So I'm just going to go here, click here. Now we are back inside of Blender. Okay, so here inside of Blender, what we're going to do is scroll up. We're going to click on this diffuse color, which is our normal map. Not our normal map, I'm sorry. This is our diffuse color. That's the main color that we see right here now, and that we have seen even before we did that work inside of Gimp. Okay, and what we want is we want for Blender to basically, reload the, this image so we can see the work that we did. So we can click right here. We see, here's our image. Here it's looking right here. So we can just click this button right here, which this says reload current image from the disk. And now we see here is our color right here. And it does not look that different to me from the light, which I do not particularly like. I want to see some more from the normal map. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to Gimp. So we're just going to click here, click back on Gimp, and what we can do is it doesn't look like there's enough, the ambient occlusion isn't strong enough. So we're going to click here. We're going to go to colors. We're going to go to curves. And when we went to curves, this box pops up. So we're currently selected on the ambient occlusion layer, right? So what I'm going to do is put one dot here, push this up slightly. Then I'm going to take this and push this down. You see what's happening as I pull this dot down, how much darker everything is getting here as far as that ambient occlusion. So with that done, I'm going to click OK. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go File, Export As, Export, replace what we just did, Export. We're going to come down click here to be back in Blender. We have our refresh button, so we're going to click here, and now we can see, there we go. A lot more, you can see the effect that this is having. And, you know, you can see, hopefully, that you can adjust fairly easily by going back and forth to your image editing program and coming here. I know that there is a way to have Blender hooked up with your external editor, you know, whatever you're using. I did that before. I prefer right now to just have them separate. It's pretty easy to go inside of, you know, Gimp and then, you know, come here and just hit the refresh button. You know, the refresh button right here is what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's give him some hair. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to our particle system. We're then going to click New. If you are used to watching my tutorials, you might sit there and say, he's about to do particle hair. He doesn't do particle hair. Yeah, I like polygon hair. I tend to like stylistic art more than realistic art. I can appreciate both of them. I also, depending on what you're using, praise God, I just got a new computer, so I have more power. So the way I typically think is, if I can't do something fairly easily because of the technology, I'll kind of like go away from it, just because, you know, why put stress on yourself? Again, praise God, I have this new computer, so here we are doing particle hair. So we, you know, have our new particle system right here. See where it says type right here. See where it says emitter. We're gonna click here and change this to hair, and then we can see, you know, all of this, you know, hair popping out pretty much all over our mesh. Working with particle hair actually isn't that difficult, to my surprise. What we need to do is, just after, you know, setting that to hair, we come down to vertex groups. Okay, and then we want to look for density. Okay, so that is your focus. That's what you're focused on, is density. You're then going to click here, and we're going to select scalp. And now we can see the hair is coming from our scalp area. Okay, so what we're going to do now is scroll up. See where it says hair length? We're going to click here, and we're going to change this to 0.5, then press enter. So, you know, now we have our hair length being a more manageable, you know, reasonable length. Okay, with that hair length set, we're going to go to our material tab. We're going to click new right here, or when I say new, I mean the plus button that's to the upper right. When I used to work in materials, I used to get confused in the beginning between the upper right and here when I had to remember. Anyway, you start off with the upper right, then you click new. We're going to name this here hair material and press enter. I make it kind of like a light brownish color is kind of what I'm thinking. Oh, let's put a ramp on here. We'll click here. These what I did, I clicked here, I put a ramp, which is basically a gradient. To deal with these things right here, if you click it and grab it, I find that this activates this ramp color. I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna make this be kind of like this color here. We click this and grab this, then we, you know, click here, we can work with this color here. As I learned this, you know, there's multiple people that did previous tutorials dealing with hair. my favorite, which I tends to be my favorite a lot of times, is David Ward. It showed how to do this. I like his method so far the best. Uh, he had did a ramp. That's why I said okay, let's go ahead and do a ramp. So anyway, this is our material we're using for the hair. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our particle system, which is basically our hair. Okay, to see the hair, what you need to do, see where it says render here, and it says material here, you need to click here and then select that material that we made, which is the hair material, and you can see that the color changed when we selected this. Okay, and you might sit there and say, well, look, that's not a lot of hair, and you are correct. So what we're going to do is click here where it says children. We're then going to, we have these different options here. We're going to click interpolated. So we'll click here and look at that, all that hair there. So this render button right here, I believe will show more hair than we're actually seeing here. So we're going to change this render button down to 50 and then press enter. Okay, when we look at the hair is totally straight right now. So what we can do is scroll down and see where this says nothing. It seems like curl or wave is the best. And what we can basically do is make it so that the hair isn't, just totally straight. So we can click, all these different options. This is what braid looks like. We'll go to wave. And now you can see that the hair, it looks, not so straight. You can adjust these options here, which will have the hair look different, so it just, has it not be totally straight. Okay, so we want to style this hair some. So what we're going to do is we're going to click here. Then we're going to go to particle edit. I'm in an interesting situation where my wife is very aware of new technology. My wife has taught me some of the big things in Blender. My wife taught me how to use the node editor in Blender. My wife is Susan Arango. She's a Blender teacher as well. She's got her own Blender YouTube channel as well. And the reason why I mentioned her is I remember seeing her in Blender working with particle hair some time ago, and I saw a comb, and I was like, it just amazed me. There was a little comb there, and sure enough, she was in there combing this character's hair, and I just thought that was amusing. Blender is an amazing program, and it amazes me how often, how often that it's for as much time as I spend in Blender and even doing tutorials in Blender, there's often something new. You sit there and say, well, how much time can you spend in this program? There's something new. So anyway, without me rambling, you set up this particle edit, and you basically can comb your hair. So we have this set up. We go up here, we click comb, and it basically works like a comb. And you take the hair, basically push it to the side, pushing this hair to this side. Gonna hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to take this and basically, comb this hair like this here. I'm just, combing the hair. And if you look at the hair and you're like, it's all straggly, you can see maybe that with, my screen capture that, yeah, the hair of my computer is lagging a little bit, so don't be, alarmed that the hair looks so sparse here. Uh, when it renders, it should be more hair than this. So I'm just holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to click here, go to object mode. Oh, look at that. I'm curious if we come down here, if we change this back to nothing. Yeah, I think that looks better than with this. So we'll see. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click here. We're going to press X to delete that light. We're going to click here, press X to delete that light. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because we're about to go into cycles. So when you look here, we're in the Blender renderer. If you're like, what is the Blender renderer? The Blender renderer is a way that you see light, basically, right? This Blender renderer tends to be very fast as far as rendering out images. It is excellent when it comes to dealing as far as real-time animation stuff. However, there's another renderer that deals with lighting called Cycles. So we're going to click here and select the Cycles renderer. The Cycles renderer deals with light, and it tends to make things look beautiful. It doesn't tend to be as fast as the Blender renderer, but it tends to make things look very nice. Okay, here in Cycles, things tend to work different as far as materials. So I prefer to set up planes to emit lights rather than have lights when in Cycles. I'm going to left click here. I'm then going to press X and then choose delete to get rid of that light right there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is right click right here. I'm going to zoom back. Actually, I'm going to right click right here a little bit higher. I'm going to hold shift. Then while holding shift, I'm going to press A. This brings up our add to menu. I'm going to select mesh, then plane. Here's a plane. I'm going to make this bigger by pressing S and then pull my mouse. I'm going to press S and pull the mouse again. I'm going to go to the material tab. I'm going to click new. See where it says diffuse here? I'm going to click this and change this to emission. When I change this to emission, by doing that, light is now going to come down out of this plane. Typically, when you make something in 3D, you want to hold them in a mouse button and rotate the view, because sometimes something can look like it's in place when it's not. The way you can kind of make sure it's just by rotating your view. So this light is in a good place. I'm going to right click right here. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press A to bring in another plane. I'm going to press R to rotate on the x-axis 90. Then left click. I'm going to press S to scale this up some. I'm going to press S to scale that up some more. I'm going to press R to rotate on the z-axis like this. R to rotate on the z-axis some more like this. Now I'm just going to, with this plane selected, do the same thing. Here's our material tab. I'm going to click new. Go to diffuse, click here. Then click emission, so light will come out here as well. Okay, with this selected, I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D. I'm then going to right click, pull this plane like this. I'm going to press R to rotate on the z-axis like this. I'm going to press R to rotate on the z-axis like that. I'm rotating to see where these are actually positioned in 3D space. I'm going to press S to scale to make this bigger. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press D, and then right click. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis like this. And I'm putting these planes around, just trying to get, fairly decent lighting. If you're like, well, okay, you made this, you put an emission on it, and then you made this separate. Why did you click this and then just duplicate this to this? The reason why I did that is when you click here, when I clicked here and then duplicated this to this, if I choose to change the strength of the emission, if I choose the strength on one of these, it'll change the strength on all of these. But because I made this separate from this, the strength will change on emission from here, but it shouldn't change on emission from here, if that makes sense to you, if you were just wondering that. So I just held the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Okay, we have this little UV image editor over here. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to roll the mouse button to zoom in here, hold shift and middle mouse button to pan. We have this, we don't need to look at this anymore. So what we can do here is click here and then select 3D view. So now we have a view of our, head mesh right here. I'm about to press T. When I press T, this is going to disappear. So I press T, that's gone. And we're going to use this to see what's going on as far as our lighting. We're going to use this window right here to basically do our work. Okay, if you're like, well, this looks the same as this for the most part. Well, I didn't activate render yet, so I'm going to hover here, hold shift and press Z, and we can see our mesh right here. So we can see the render right here, basically, what's going on as far as this. So, and as far as like looking here and then working here, I can click here and then I'm going to click here, change this to 0.5, then press enter. And I believe when I click here, yep, it's 0.5 for all of them. I'm going to roll back. So yeah, this I can see all of the different, light in here, where at the same time, here, like see, I can see the light in here. I don't want to see those lights. So what I can do is click here, then click here, go all the way to the bottom where it says cycle settings. Click here and then click camera. So basically the light is still there, but in our rendered view we can't see the light here. So I'm just going to click on these and just take that check mark away for camera. Okay, I'm going to hover here and zoom in. See how it looks extremely bright right here. When we set up for the ambient occlusion, we didn't turn it off. So we're going to click here to go to world settings. We're going to unclick ambient occlusion. So we're going to click here, we're going to go to materials. Let's change this back to 1. Actually going to make this one bigger. I'm going to click here. I have a NVIDIA processor, so I can click here and change this to GPU. It'll just make things faster. I'm going to make this even bigger. So you can increase the strength of your the strength of your light by actually changing the strength. You can also increase the size. I'm going to zoom back here. I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to hold control, and then while holding control, hold alt. So while I'm holding control as well as alt, I'm going to press number pad 0. And what that does is that makes the camera basically go right to where your view's at. I'm going to press the N key. I'm going to select lock camera to view. This makes it so however you move your normal view, the camera will do the same thing. I'm going to press N. So when I zoom back now, the camera zooms back as well. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button to pan. I'm then going to press N, then unclick lock camera to view, and then press N to take away that panel. Okay, so the camera's set up. I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate the view, which made me come out of camera mode. I'm going to zoom in here like that. Okay, so we're going to set up our materials in cycles. We're going to click on our character here. We're then going to click use nodes. I'm like, okay. I'm going to hold shift, press Z, then hold shift and press Z again. I just wanted to make sure it didn't have, you know, what you see here as far as for the flesh. I'm going to hover here and then pull down here to open up another window. The reason why I did this was so I could click here and then select the node editor. We zoom in here. We can see what's going on as far as our character. Pull this over. I'm going to so you can see more of this. I'll shrink this down some. And I'm actually going to click here. We have our, I deleted the materials. We have our materials set up outside of Blender with the exception of the hair. So that's not that big of a deal, me doing that. I'm clicked on our main character mesh. I'm going to click new. And what you do here reflects what you do here. Depending on what you're doing, it tends to be easier sometimes to work here. For simple things, I find it's easier to work here. For more complicated things, it's easier, I find. This isn't for everyone. I'm saying for myself to work here. We want to get the basic skin color on here. So we're going to go to color, right? When you look here, you're like, okay, when I think color, I think I click right here. You actually want to click here. So you're not clicking here. You're clicking right here on this gray area with these dots. You're going to click there. And then what you're going to do is you are going to select image texture. And you can see that this is reflected right here. Okay, so for this image texture, we want to grab our main the main color of our character. So we're gonna, let's click here and see if it's there, and it is. So we're gonna click material diffuse color. So there's our color right there. Now, if you clicked here and you didn't find it, you could click right here, then click these four, it looks like four symbols right here, and this allow you see. Then you could have clicked from right there to get your image texture as well. So I'm gonna click cancel since we already have our image texture right there. Okay, so what we have here is we have our color, but we don't have our normal map. So I'm going to pull this up. I'll pull this. I'm going to hover here and pull down some. Zoom back some like that. We need to bring in our normal. Remember, our normal is a image texture, and we could click here and hold Shift D and then just bring another image texture like that. I'm going to click add. I'm going to go to texture and select image texture from here. I'm then going to click here, go to the normal map just by left clicking right there. Okay, so we have our normal map right here. Now what we need to do is go add vector and then select normal map. Okay, so now we need to hook this up, roll back. I say roll back, I mean zoom back. We have our normal here. So what we need to do is go from the image texture of our normal map image into our normal map node. So we just go left click on color, drag this to our color here for our normal map node. Okay, I'm going to just drag this image texture right underneath here. I'm going to put the normal map here. We need to have this normal map come from here into this normal map input here, and now you look here, you can see the normal map is working. Okay, we need to set up the materials for our eyes. So I'm going to click on our eye. You can see that there's nothing showing up in the node editor. I'm going to click new, and now we see, these nodes pop up. Okay, we want our eyes to be glossy, so we're going to click add shader glossy. We want to mix these two things together, so we're going to go add shader. There we go. Mix shader here. So we'll just grab this, pull this up here like that. We'll just pull this here like that. I'm going to hover here. I'm going to hold shift, and then while holding shift, press B. Then I'm going to draw a zoom box right here for the eye so we can see what's going on. So we have our diffuse here. The more that we increase this, I get confused, the more we can increase this this right here, the way you see it looks kind of grainy is because of our samples here. Okay, the more you increase this factor here should increase this glossiness more. If I take this all the way back down, then pretty much all of the influence of this is coming through. So basically what we want to do is, keep it around, 0.5. For now, I'm going to click here. Make sure this is totally white. I am going to go here. I'm going to click this plus right here to the right. I'm going to click new. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to click edit to go to edit mode. I'm going to make sure I'm on face select, zoom in some more. I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm going to paint this area in here that should be black. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select just so I can rotate to see this right here. I'm going to press C. Getting all the edges there. I'm going to right click to get out of paint select just so I can rotate to see those edges there. Right click to get out of paint select so I can see that one edge there. Right click to get out of paint select so I can see these edges here. Press C for paint select again. Then right click to get out of paint select again. Okay, with all of that area there selected, I'm actually going to click here, click copy material, then click here, then click here, then click paste material. You might sit there and say, well, why didn't you just use this material instead of, copying and pasting it? The reason why I copied this and pasted this is because now I can change this material to what I want. It has all the nodes from here. And when I change it, it won't affect this material right here. So what I'm going to do is click here and then choose black. You don't see any change there because what I have to do is click assign. Now when I click assign, you can see the change there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is hover here, press A to deselect. I'm then going to make sure I'm on face select. I'm going to hold shift as well as alt. I'm then going to click here, hold shift and alt, then click here. I'm going to hold shift and alt, then click here as well. I'm now going to go here, go to the plus on the right all the way up, this plus. Click new material, or click, the plus made this new material come up. I'm going to click here. I'm then going to go to this material. I'm going to click this arrow here, hit copy material, then click this material here, click the arrow, and then click paste material. Okay, now I'm going to go to diffuse, push this up so I can, see the actual colors. What color? Could be green. We'll go with blue. Okay, so we picked a blue color, and then what we're going to do is click assign, and then we can see the color there. So when I zoom back, hold shift and the middle mouse button, you can see here's the this eye being affected here with those colors. Okay, if you're pleased with how your eyes look like this, you can leave it like that. If you want to see more of the actual color of the eye come through, what you can do is go to add, go to input, and then choose the fresnel node, then move this up, and then left click where it says factor and move this to the mix shade factor. Now you'll see a lot more color come through. Make this, move that over a little bit so you can see a lot more color with the fresnel node there, and I like that, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Okay, as far as working with having this eye have the same materials as this eye, what we can do is click here, go to object mode. Then we first select this eye, hold shift, and then while holding shift, select this eye that has the color that we want. And then we hold control, and then while holding control, press L. And then we're gonna select right here, object data. And now this eye has the same colors as that eye there. Okay, even though this is showing our rendered image, we really can't see our hair until we actually render from the camera. So I'm going to hover here, left click and drag to the side so we have more space here. Okay, now we're going to hover here, and I'm going to press the O key on my number keypad. If you don't have an O key to press, you can go to your navigation tab and then select view camera here. So I pressed T to get this menu to pop up, right? I'm going to press T to get that menu to go away. So here is what the camera is actually seeing. So I'm going to click here. Right now, we're set to render in the image editor. I don't want that. I want a new window to pop up when we actually render. So I'm going to click here and change this to new window. So now we're going to click here where it says render, and then we're going to select render image. And then here we can see there's more hair here. It looks like it's not, styled quite right. I'm going to click here to come out of that. So I'm going to hover here, roll my mouse wheel back, click here, go to our particle settings. Just looking here. I'm going to click here. Then I'm going to click this plus button here. I'm going to click new. I'm going to click here and name this hair color. Press enter. I don't want it to look red like it was looking before. So I'm going to click back here. We can see, oh, okay. I didn't even realize it was changing over there. So let's click here. So we take it like this. Oh, very cool. Okay. So we can see it changing there. Okay. Okay, let's try pressing render image. Okay, I like how that looks as far as the color. I'm going to click here to close that. I'm going to hover my mouse here, hold shift, then press Z. This brings us out of the rendered mode. If I click here, you know, this takes us into rendered mode. I could have clicked here to bring us back. I just prefer to use the shortcut key. I'm rolling back here. The reason why I'm doing this is I am going to click on our particle system, and then I'm going to click here, go to particle edit. I'm going to pull this up here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hover here, left click and drag, so we take that window away. I'm going to hover here and pull this out some more. I'm clicked on a comb, so I'm going to comb the hair. Try to separate that part some more, like that. I want to make the hair a little bit longer here, so I'm going to go to length, and see it says grow here. So we'll make this a little bit longer here. We're going to go to puff and puff it up here more. I'm going to click here, then go to object mode, just so I can kind of get a view of how it's looking. I'm going to hover here, hold shift, and press Z. And we can see, you know, a little bit there. However, to really get a view, we're going to click render and then render image. Okay, not bad. I'm going to click here to close that. I'm going to click back here, go back to particle edit. I'm going to puff this up more so. Puff this up more in the ends here than where the part's at. Now I'm going to click here, then go to object mode. It looks like it needs more puff there, so I'm going to click here, go back to particle edit, puff this up. So now I'm just left clicking, not dragging, I'm just left clicking here. I click here, go to object mode. Looks like this needs to be combed down some, so I'm going to click here, go back to particle edit, go back to comb. Comb this down some, like that. Okay, I'm going to click here, go back to object mode. Looks better. Let's try rendering the image. Okay, somewhat better. Okay, let's add some eyebrows to them. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and add another particle system. We'll double click here and name this, oops, eyebrows. Okay, we're going to go to emitter, change this to hair. We're going to go to length and change this to 0.5, then press enter. Let's change this to 0.25, then press enter. We're going to take this emission down to 0. Okay, the reason why we took the emission down to 0 is we're going to be, putting the hair where we want it. We're going to click here to turn off our, main hair. We're then going to click here, go to particle, edit. We're going to go here to add. Our radius is our size. Our count is how many hairs go down. We're going to press F. If we push in, we can decrease our radius. If we pull out, we can increase it. So we're going to put it down like that. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, rotate the view. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to be careful to stay above this area right here. And we're just going to paint like that. Hold the middle mouse button. Like that. Okay, I'm going to click here and go back to object mode. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to materials. We're going to click the plus button here. We're going to click new. We're going to click here, hit copy material, click here, then click paste material. We're going to double click here. We're going to name this hair color 2, then press enter. We're going to click here, make this darker. Change the color a little. We're then going to click back here on our eyebrows particle setting. We're then going to click here, then click hair color 2. I'm then going to click hair here, click here to unhide this particle system. Okay, now I'm going to hover here, then hold shift, then while holding shift press Z. And we can see our eyebrows there. I'm going to hold shift, then press Z to come out of rendered mode. Okay, we're essentially done with our character here. What I want to do now is I'm going to click this empty, press X, then choose delete. I'm going to click the camera and press H to hide the camera. I'm then going to press Z, go to wireframe mode, hover here, press B, select everything that we have here, zoom back some more. I'm going to hold shift and the middle mouse button. I'm then going to hold shift and then while holding shift press D. Then going to pull to the side to let me know that I duplicated, to let myself know that I duplicated. However, I'm going to right click. I'm going to pull this to the side here. Holding shift to the middle mouse button to pan here. Let me push this so it's not too far away. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Alt and while holding Alt press H to bring that camera back. Okay, what I'm going to do with this camera selected is pull this camera over here. I'll roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. Hold shift and the mouse button to pan some more. Pull this over a little. Hold shift and the mouse button to pan. Zoom back some like that. I'm I'm going to press A, hover here, hold shift, then press B. Draw a zoom box right here. I'm going to press Z and then select solid view. So we have all of this hard work in, all these settings, modeling, all these things for this one character. You remember when I showed you the vertex groups? Let's click and go to our eye area. So we'll click here, go to edit mode. Now, this is a duplicate of the other model. So when we duplicated this, all of the vertex groups came with it. So we're going to click select. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click here and then go, with this selected, we're going to press H to hide this. We're going to click here and we're going to go to sculpt mode. Okay, let's go to our particle system and hide them for now. And now let's adjust our character. I'm going to press F. When I click navigation, then where it says view global/local, I'm going to click here. I'll just roll the mouse wheel to zoom in. And I'm just trying to push our character. See how different I can get the character to look. Without, having it, still having it look, like a decent character. That's right. That part's hidden. Go to tools. Actually, you know what I can do is hold shift for here, smooth that out some. Okay, now I'm going to hover here, hold shift, then press Z to take a look at our character. When I click here, go to edit mode. And grab this edge right here, hold shift and grab this. Pull up something like that. I'll go to vertice. So I'll click here just to get the manipulator to move. Push that there. I'm going to hold Alt, then press H to bring back our eye area. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to hold Control in the middle mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to go to Edge Select, hold Alt, select here, press S to scale. I'm going to hold Alt, I'm going to press S, then hold Shift, then Z. Scale this up. Holding the middle mouse button to turn, I'm going to press A to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to Go to the navigation tab. I'm going to click where it says view global/local. I'm going to click here to go back to object mode. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to press Z, go to wireframe mode. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to click here. Press X to delete there. Click here. Press X to delete that. Click here. Press X to delete that. I'm going to click here. Press X to delete that. And I'm going to press B for box select. Select all of this. Push these heads close together. I'm going to press A to deselect. I'm going to press Z and then select solid view to come back to, solid view mode. Okay, I'm going to select the camera, take the manipulator and push this over like that. I'm going to click here, press S to scale to bring in more light. Okay, I'm going to click on the second head mesh. I'm going to click back on the particle system. I'm going to click to unhide these particle systems. I'm going to click on this particle system that is on this head mesh here. I'm going to click this minus button to take away that particle system. I'm going to hover my mouse here. I'm going to hold shift. Then while holding shift, I'm going to press B. I'm going to draw a zoom box to zoom in here. I'm going to click on the eye here. I'm going to hover over this little triangle looking thing, pull this down. I'm going to click here and then click here to go to the node editor. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel to zoom in. Okay, I'm going to click on the material tab here. I'm going to click the plus button here. I'm going to click new. I'm then going to click here, click copy material, click here, then click paste material. And then now with that done, what I'm going to do is click here. I'm going to change this to a light brownish color. Okay, I'm going to click here, go to edit mode. I'm going to hold shift and the mouse button to pan the view. I'm then going to click assign. And now I have the color change for both the eyes. Adjusting them a little bit more. There we go. Okay, I'm going to press A to deselect the faces there. I'm then going to click here and then click here to go to object mode for the second head mesh. I'm now going to click to go back to Gimp. I'm going to left click here, right click, then select duplicate layer. And then with this duplicated layer here, now I'm going to hide this layer by taking away this eye here. I'm going to hide the ambient occlusion layer by clicking on eye there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click, get a brownish color, then I'm going to click OK. I'm then going to go to the paint bucket. I'm then going to click to get this, click a couple of times to get this, maybe more than a couple of times, to get this basically the same color here. Okay. I want this to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to go to Colors, Curves, and go right towards the center of this line and pull this down some like that. Then I'm going to click OK. I'm now going to, I just click here to get the eyedropper, away from Blender, not Blender, Gimp's turns to the eyedropper, so I click there to get that to go off. I'm going to click here to bring back the ambient occlusion. I'm going to click here, then I'm going to go to Layer, New from Visible, which is there. I'm going to click to hide these layers. That's not necessary. I just like to do that. Okay, now with that done, what I'm going to do is go File, Export As. Make sure that this says Material Diffuse Color 2. Now I have this 2 in here because I was working on this tutorial. Most likely yours would say Material Diffuse Color. So make sure you have something different. Like this is Material Diffuse Color because I put that 2 there. So I'm just going to put Material Diffuse Color A. Just so you understand, do not copy over this color. Make sure you have something added or different, okay? Okay, so with that done, I'm going to click Export and then Export again. I'm then going to click and then go back to Blender. Okay, here in Blender, I'm going to click on our second head mesh here. I'm going to click here and then click the minus button to take the color off of our second head mesh here. Okay, now I'm going to pull these nodes over here. I'm going to click Add. I'm going to go to Texture. I'm going to bring in an image texture. I know I can duplicate it, but I'm going to go to Texture and then bring in another image texture. I'm going to click Add, go to Vector, and then I'm going to bring in a normal map node. Okay, for this top image texture node, I'm going to click here. I'm going to click on texture. I'm going to click here. It looks like 4 squares, so I can see what's going on. I'm going to click diffuse, Material Diffuse Color A. I'm going to click OK. For this one, I'm going to click here. I'm going to click Textures. Click this, looks like 4 squares. I'm going to select Normal Map. I'm then going to click Open Image. I think I said OK before. It's Open Image. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure for your normal map where it says color, I'm going to click here and change this to non-color data. I'm then going to change from color. I'm going to left click and drag from the color output of the image texture to the input of the color for the normal map. For this top image texture, I'm going to left click and drag from color to color. And then from this normal map, I'm going to drag from normal to normal. Okay, now with that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Render Image. Okay, and he doesn't have his hair color anymore. I'm going to click here. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to click here. Okay, so I'm going to click on the particle system. I'm going to click on the top particle system. where it says hair color. I'm going to click hair color. Okay, that's interesting. So the hair color is now saying that it is the material node setup. I'm going to click plus, click new. That's interesting. I'm going to double click here, name this material A, press enter. I'm going to click here, double click here, and name this hair color. I'll pick a color. Click back on the particle system, click here, select hair color. Okay, with that done, I'm going to click here on our, to go to our render menu. I'm going to click here. I'm going to change this from 50 to 100%. I'm then going to click here for sampling. I'm going to scroll down. We're set for 128 samples. Samples basically determine how clear your image is. 128 isn't bad. I'm going to click here and change this to 1000. I'm then going to press enter to lock that in. Okay, now we'll go to render and then click here to render the image. So yeah, I like the fact that you can benefit from your work as far as you do a lot of work on the one character, and then you can fairly easily make a fairly different looking character. We used the vertex group that dealt with the eye area. We could have taken the other vertex group and worked with that to make the character look even more different as far as around the eye area. But it's nice to see that the normal maps and things like the hair particle system, as far as the eyebrows, that we were able to use that on another character. And that particle hair, it is definitely interesting using, and I'm so used to using polygon hair. But I must admit, I do like the look of the particle hair. However, even as I think about this, you guys are watching an image actually render out. And this is one image. Now it is at 1,000 samples, but you can see how long it's taking to render out just the one image. So I like how it looks as far as a single image, but most of the time I'm modeling for animation. So while I do like the look of it, I probably still, for most of my work, will stick to polygon hair just because of the speed of the rendering. as far as seeing this right here, I guess this isn't smoothed if you're like, what is that right there? I had mentioned to you before, as far as the detail on the textures, I used 1024 by 1024. You might want to use 2048 by 2048 as far as the actual image size of the texture that you're using. Okay, and it's coming along. And is that it? Okay, and that is it for the render. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And to those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.